So, hey,
Ready to start the
we're
show?
live with one of us here on the Dev, and there he is. There's Andy here on the
Hey.
Dev Talk Show on April 14th of 2021. I had to go look and see the calendar date there. I wasn't 100% sure. The real Japan is here. Yay, we agree. It's been a couple weeks, but we're back and doing the usual, right? You know, it's funny. It's not like riding a bike. You forget very quickly how this stuff works. But here we are, right?
Amen.
Another thing I intended to do is I remember saying a second ago, like, oh, I might need to move my image around on screen because watch what happens if I lean back in my chair. Oh, there he goes. So,
Yeah.
I didn't get around to doing that, did I? But let's see if I
Mine's
try.
kinda
Let's
tight
see if I
also,
try.
like, if I
Try
move
and
a
do
little
it.
bit.
Try and do it on the fly here. See what happens. Nope. Oh wait, look at that. Kind of there.
I'm excited to be here today.
And this is topical. This editing that we're doing on the fly because that's what we're going to talk about, right?
Yeah, I mean it's certainly related to this this kind of stuff. We're all in a concept of video, and a lot of people are doing video these days. So I don't know. It just seemed like a fun topic to talk about. But yeah, we didn't have a show. Anything new with you? Anything exciting going on?
Partially is we knew that one of the weeks was the week of MVP Summit, which we knew would be pretty busy. So that certainly had something to do with it. But, other than that, the year is progressing. It's already April, which is, I don't know. I don't know what to think. I keep saying that it's been the fastest but slowest year / year and a half or so or whatever, right? Because it does seem like time is starting to fly again. I wonder if that means that we're getting closer to maybe feeling like, I don't know. Does it just mean we're locked in? I hope not.
Well, I think we're used to it, but the weather's getting nice, and I think that makes things. I don't know if that makes things go faster, but like maybe you're excited for being out of this thing. I have some news. I got a vaccine.
Oh, did you? Okay, congrats. Good, very nice.
That's the good news. Now the bad news is it's the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which has been in the news lately.
Yeah.
But I think it's like a 1 in a million or something like that. But there have been some side effects. People are having strokes or something like that, and blood clots, I think is what it is. So
I think like you said, so far it does sound like that percentage is about 1 in a million. But for something like this, when you are putting some kind of, I don't want to call this a medication, but a treatment into people who are otherwise healthy, you want to make absolutely sure it's not like you're taking the good with the bad. It's not one of those kinds of things where, because there are some medications you hear about on TV where the side effect list is longer than the rest of the commercial, but you're trying to solve a medical problem, right? So anyways, that's great. Congrats. That's good news.
Not easy stuff to solve. I mean, kudos to these doctors that figure this stuff out,
Yeah. So hopefully pretty soon, that'll be all of us. So everybody, hope you are staying healthy and safe and ready to keep moving forward. Here on the Dev Talk Show, we got Richard Corkery saying first shot tomorrow. That's great. That's good.
Hey,
I think that's fantastic news. I love hearing stuff like that. Our friend Jeff Fritz, I think, was reporting his second dose this week or something. I think he even decided and so if you C# Fritz usually does C# Mondays, and I'm not sure if he took it off because of that, but Mondays with he's teaching C# on the Visual Studio channel right here on Twitch, so that's definitely worth a look. We were trying to look for some news, like what's happened recently. I didn't mean to cut you off, Andy, but things that have happened recently. Okay. And you had a couple items, or at least one.
Yeah, it actually just kind of popped up on my radar right before, and I brought it up on my screen here if you want. I just saw that Windows Terminal Preview 1.8 is out, and It's got a whole bunch of new stuff. Windows Terminal is pretty cool. I know you're a fan.
I use it, yeah.
Don't use it like a ton. I would like to use it more. Like I try to remember to make it like my go-to, terminal, right? But one of the big things is that it has the settings UI built in, right? And so I guess, instead of having to fumble around with what was a JSON probably or something like that. The JSON
file, yeah. Yeah, haven't tried this out yet, but that's cool.
Yeah, right. We haven't tried it, but we thought like, oh, maybe people are watching and didn't hear the news that this was out. Now, this is still in preview, but that means we're pretty close, I think. Windows Terminal, is it still is Windows Terminal itself in preview?
So no.
Official.
There isn't what they're saying here is that Windows Terminal preview. So there's a preview channel. And then Windows Terminal is at 1.7. No, this is good stuff because when I talk about using Windows Terminal, there's a couple of use cases for me that I like, and one of them is that it's not that you can't do this with command prompt. It's not that you can't do this with PowerShell, but I find it super easy to at least use that settings JSON to say, what do I want my default starting folder to be? And it's just super simple, done, works every time. I don't have to go edit a profile for PowerShell or make a very funky shortcut for command prompt, which I have done. Like I've made a very funky Windows shortcut that opens where I want, runs as administrator, and it's just lame. So I don't know. It's been a while since I have paid attention to what's going on in the preview and release channels, so I'm just being fair because this feature might very well be there and I just don't know. The one thing that I wish I could do more easily with Windows Terminal is run it as administrator by default. And maybe, look, if anyone out there, whether you're watching right now live on Twitch or watching in the future on YouTube, is like, Chris, don't you know about XYZ? Then please tell me about XYZ. I can't simply right-click on Terminal in the Start menu or wherever I might have it and say Run as Administrator and set that permanently. Like where I can take a Windows shortcut and I can right-click on it and I can check a box.
Yeah.
But here I have to, besides that, that Run as Admin, if you make your own shortcut to command prompt, you can go into the shortcut and say Run as Admin, and it's always going to run as admin. Windows Terminal, if you right click on it there, you have no way to go to properties or do anything like that. Yeah. So I will tell you, and maybe some folks might say like, Chris, don't you know about this? Here's what I have been doing. For a long time, I had a little bit of muscle memory to hit the start button, type CMD, and there's my command prompt. And I found out that you can use that same kind of muscle memory to do start WT. And it's Windows Terminal. So
start WT, right.
So like hit start. Like I don't want to, you know how some people are, and I'm actually going to tell you right now, I am not this developer, but some things I'm getting used to some keyboard muscle memory so I don't have to take my hands off the keyboard. I will hit start WT, then Control Shift Enter, which is like, what does that do? And it says run this as administrator. And I didn't know that.
Why am I getting these?
I didn't know that. So
why am I getting these pop-ups? I don't know if you noticed that. I'm getting these pop-ups.
Notifications coming in.
On this...
Oh, the chat.
I never had that before.
Your chat or the chat from?
It might be this thing because I've got this. You can't see. I'm running this restream chat window, and I wonder if this thing has some sort of feature here.
Oh, and now it's and it's like, hey, let's put the notifications in Windows. You know, it's funny that Restream there it is. Look at that. So this is a product you used to stream, and yet I don't know. Anyways, yeah. So hey, it's good to see everybody who has shown up. Thank you so much for being here, especially if you're watching live on Twitch or YouTube. And if you we're going to talk tonight a little bit about how developers can use Camtasia, and I think we thought this topic was a little timely just because I've got some thoughts on that I'd like to share tonight on this idea of creating content as a developer. But Andy has been so kind as to put a little bit of time into, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot, Andy, into thinking about some flow for this instead of like if it were me, I'd just open this up and say like, well, I don't know, drag some media in and but Camtasia is a cool little tool. It's not the only one.
No, this is not a full out like presentation mode. Like I'm not going into presentation mode where I have slides and a whole thing on this, but this is a tool that I use fairly often, and I think a lot of content creators do video editing. Oh, and I got a bug flying around in my face here. Oh, look, Al Woofers. Yeah, Lance. Nice. We use Camtasia for training videos. Saves us a ton of time. Not having to train and retrain staff on technical issues. Exactly. There's a lot of use cases. Thank you for pointing that out. There are a lot of use cases where being able to make like a simple little video can be really helpful. Yeah, just for developers, whether it be making that simple training video. Maybe you want to even reproduce a bug and sort of show people a little video of how that happened. Doing a demo or like a repeatable demo where you want to show features to the business, or maybe you even want to go out and create content for YouTube, right? Maybe that's your goal.
Yeah.
And that's cool, right?
Right.
And I've used, or dare I say, by the way, you can edit your home movies and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
You can do pretty good stuff with the tool that we're going to show, which is Camtasia. But this isn't necessarily. We're not plugging Camtasia. I think it's a great product, right? I use it. I use it often, actually. But there are other tools as well. Like we're not down on anybody else's tool. I really like Camtasia. When I've done some research, there are more advanced tools than Camtasia, but what Camtasia is known for is ease of use. And so for the casual user, and I would be a casual user, and I'm not we're not making movies like, for the real, right? This is a really good product. It is not free. I just want to be really clear about that, and I don't know much about pricing.
Okay.
And Kayaking Tea. I've used Wondershare Demo Creator as it's a cheaper option. The interface looks very similar. So I have never heard of Demo Creator, right? This isn't a space that I'm like super expert in. But what I would say is I'm not surprised that the interface looks pretty similar because I think most of these tools will have similar things, right? They're mostly going to have a timeline on the bottom, and I'll go through some of these things, a timeline and a canvas, and this is where you do your work, and a menu. Look at this, Ross the Lip showing us there. Camtasia $249 is not, super expensive. I don't know if that's, your standard retail price, but again, as Lance was saying, hey, wouldn't it be, maybe this is something your company is going to buy or something like that. And so I don't think this is one of those costs where you're going to your boss and you're asking for like, $10,000. You're going in with $249 price, and that's, maybe that's acceptable, but I couldn't tell you if it is, right?
Right.
So I don't know, Chris, do you think we set the stage on like why this is important?
Yeah, I think, like you said, there's other options, and if I can remember, it's funny, I might even be able to remember some of them. I'm certain that there's an open source option that's been making waves.
Open source option. I'm trying to think of what it is. Now, Adobe Premiere is sort of like the big name in the
right.
Adobe Premiere is like one of the standards or whatever. I guess if you're on a Mac, there's a pretty good one, maybe even built in. I don't know, but Adobe is probably more powerful than this. Again, I can't say. I can only assume that it's more powerful. But it's also, they say, harder to use. Like this is one of these things. Like we'll do some stuff today, and you'll be like, oh, I could do that. Free screen recording. is what Ross the Lip says. Is that the one you're talking about, Chris?
It's not, but I'm like I said, I'm certain there's plenty of them.
Yeah. So, but I think the tips we're going to talk about today, the kind of things you can do today, are the kind of things that you'd be able to do in probably some of the competitors, right? And how well they do them is going to be, it's going to vary, right? But maybe we should get in and show a little bit around Camtasia and get started and see if we can play around with this thing a little bit, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I'm going to start off. I have this project, and it's just called like TDTS Demo Project, right? And you can sort of see that. Let's see if I did this right. Yep, look at that. So I've got this right at the top there, TDTS Demo. I did start it, like, in other words, I created a project because I didn't want to wait for the startup of Camtasia as part of this conversation, right? So you start up, you create a project. There are some settings for the project. It will remember these things, so it'll just do this every time. But, I want to set my canvas. That's the working area. In this case, I want to be working on 1080p, right? 1920 by 1080 is a pretty good thing. Now, you don't have to. You could do like, 4K, which my monitor doesn't support. You could just do 720. But that is just the project resolution. And when I go to share this, or when I go to like sort of produce it, I can actually downgrade to a lower resolution later. So this is the way I tend to do it. I tend to work on like a 1080 kind of thing, right? I think that's probably a good place to start with it, So, so the next thing we would want to do, again, I don't have this completely thought out, but let's just do something here. I'm going to import media. Now I've got some files gathered together, and let's see if it goes. Yep. So I've got some files. I've got a couple photos. I've got this Trek file. We'll talk a little bit about what this Trek file means. Chris, remind me if you feel like I need to zoom more often. I don't know. This isn't Visual Studio, so I don't think I can like zoom in on the menus or anything like that here. But I have Zoom It, right? And so I should be able to, do some stuff as we need. So anyway, I have a couple of images in here. I have a couple of MP4s, video files that I took with my phone. And I've got this Trek, and we'll come back and we'll talk about Trek in a little bit. I was trying to think, like, what am I going to use to edit? And my daughter was doing this project for school. She needed to record this video. And I'm like, you know what? Let's just use that video, right? So what I can do is I can open up this Sarah Second. I'm just calling it this MP4, right? And here it shows up now in this little media bin. And I can see that video of my daughter. And she was doing this presentation for school. And it was, everything's videotaped these days. So it seems to be taking a second to, there it goes. Okay, it seems to be loaded now. So it's in my media bin, but I can't play it yet, right? Like it doesn't do anything. So if we look down here at the bottom, we see the timeline. And you can see that time advances as we go to the right here, right? And then there's a couple of tracks in here, and there's some play controls and things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this video, and I'm just going to drag it down and put it on the timeline. Oh, look at it. So now it's giving me a little pop-up. You added a high frame rate video to your project, right? Because my camera takes video at 60 frames per second, but my project is set up at 30 frames per second. And I'll tell you, I'm going to just keep it at 30 because I think that's probably going to put less drain on my machine right now during the demo and things like that. So let's just keep that. Okay. And now you can see that here's the video, right? And I can play the video. And I don't know how jumpy this is going to be going through Skype and stuff like that, but here's my daughter doing her little, right? So that's the video of my daughter, okay? And Chris, were you able to see that and hear that okay?
I heard it. I actually wasn't 100% sure if it went out. I think it did. But unfortunately, and we knew this, that it's choppy. We knew that, but it wasn't, we can see the interface of the app, so.
Yeah. Let me just see. Yeah, right. So, okay. So I've got this thing. Now, if we look at the bottom of my screen here, we can see the track that I posted in here. And you can see all the, like, sort of wave This is the audio, right? And I can see the audio sort of like behind. It's a kind of a cool way for them to visualize this. And I can see the audio, and I can see the wave of the different words she's saying and things like that. And I can see the high points and low points and things like that. So now I've got this timeline, right? And I've got this audio and video. They're on the same track, right? It's combined. And I can now use this slider, or a scrubber, I think sometimes they call these things, right? And I can move through the video, and I'm looking on my thing. It's a little jumpy. I'm sort of looking over at the stream. It's a little jumpy, but hopefully you can tell that I can slide around, okay? And I can go to different points in the video, and I've got this timeline marker here that goes down the middle. So I can go to any place I want, right?
Yep.
There's some controls over here so that I can play forwards and backwards, play, go to the beginning of the clip, go to the end of the clip, and I can even go frame by frame, which is very subtle and probably doesn't come off very clear on the video, but I can do that as well. And then this slider here will take me throughout the whole duration of the project that I have right now. Now you notice I never set the duration of the project. It automatically expands because I put this long file in here. This video file is 5 and almost 6 minutes, right? So it's a decent length of a clip.
Okay.
And so what do I want to do with this? Well, simply put, I can just edit the heck out of this thing fairly easily, and I'll show a few ways to do that. So one way to do it is if I go to the beginning, and let's just go to the beginning, right? And let's just say I want to clip off, I'm looking at this thing, and we're going to listen to it, and I'm going to hear something I want to clip out. Let's say I want to take out this little beginning here. So there's a couple of ways you can do this kind of stuff, but you can see that the yellow bar is around this clip. That means it's highlighted and it's like active. Okay. So what I can do, and there's a couple little buttons on here, which I can show. There's let's see, there's a scissors, which is a cut. And there's also this like slice button here, right? And then you have like copy and paste and a couple other things in here. So what I can do is I can move this timeline to a spot, and now you notice right here this little slice thing, this split came up, and I can just click it. And now this is two different pieces, right? Okay.
Yeah.
You see how I split those apart? I can drag them apart. If you put them together, what's really cool here is if you put them together, there's no jump. In other words, it will seam those together perfectly. Okay. You can have as many pieces as you want. Don't think that because there's this, like, oh, that's two different pieces there, right? But that's not a problem, right? That's going to be seamless.
Okay. Yeah.
So I did this, and if I wanted to, I could just boom. I'm going to hit delete. And it's gone, right? I can undo, I can control Z, all that kind of stuff if I want, but I can delete it and that's gone, right? And then I could just slide this back to the beginning, and I just did my sort of first simple edit, right? And now that clip is gone. All right. Now there's another way I can do that. I'm going to control Z a little bit and get that clip back in here, and I'm going to make it so that it's all one. Okay. And another way you can do it, depending on what you want to do, is, I don't know if you noticed, but when I move to this corner here, see how my cursor turns into a, like a bar with arrows, right? I can now, so if let me just try to be clear about this. If I click and grab this track, I can move it around, right? I can move it around here. You know what? I'll tell you what, I'm going to make this a little easier to see. I'm going to go back to here. I'm going to cut this again. I'm just going to separate these so we can see the difference between these, okay? So I can drag this thing, right? This one little clip, I can drag it. But if I drag the beginning of it, when I get these little bars, the beginning or the end, see, I'm making it shorter, right? Now, I'm not compressing it. I'm actually sort of trimming it, right, at the same time. So, but what's nice about this is it's not a permanent thing, right? The project file still knows this is the whole file. So I can still come and make it bigger again and things like that, right?
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like I can still get that back, right? So I've got this little clip here, right? And I don't know, let's just, clip these things together. And now when I play it, we should see some sort of jump in here. Again, this isn't a completely planned out demo, but if I play this, we should see the little bit of a jump.
Well, actually, my family.
My daughter. See that it kind of had an abrupt jump in there, right? So if I have an abrupt jump, I might want to do something to make that jump seem less abrupt, okay? And normally, I probably wouldn't make it as abrupt as that. I would probably find a nicer place to make my transition. It's kind of hard. All right. Now, so I just did something, and I actually kind of tricked myself. I forgot about this. You'll notice I dragged this out, and when I dragged it out,
whoa. We'll see when Andy comes back here, at least for me. It looks like Skype's fighting him a little bit. That's my guess.
See, I can always move it back over here, right, and find that frame where I want to do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so in that last part there, we had that phenomenon that you get in video conferencing where you froze and then it tried to speed up to catch up. And we thought it's possible, right? That maybe trying to...
I knew that was going to happen, yeah.
Because it's your machine is trying to manage video here and Skype and so on. So unfortunately, I missed a lot of what you were saying there. You talked about you were playing something, and then you talked about how the scrubber, you were moving the scrubber.
I was talking about, let me just reiterate that. I was saying how right now my canvas looks dark.
Okay,
right.
There's
nothing, you think there's no video there. But that's because this marker here, this placeholder of the playhead, essentially, is on a frame where you can see there is nothing. But if I move this back over here, look at that. It picks up that frame, right? It puts whatever frame is underneath that that cursor, this marker here, right? Mm-hmm. So I can go and I can use this and I can find the spot that I want to jump to in this video, right? And let's say I want to jump to this place where these pictures are being shown, right? So I can kind of come in here, cut this out, and now I bring these together and I say, well, let's see now what happens when I play that, right? And it's probably going to look kind of jumpy. Okay, so that was
Of course, we have other holidays. Some of them are...
Oh, you know what I think I did? Hang on, did I do something wrong? I think I dragged the wrong way. So let's just see if that happens again. Let's take... Yeah, so a little trial and error
Of course, we have
on these
other
things.
holidays. Some of them are...
Oh, no, wait, that's actually weird. It didn't take out the piece that I wanted it to take out. Let's try that again. I want it to be sort of...
Yeah, so it's doing that again to Andy there, right when you started. So it started doing that again, right when you started showing that demo. I wonder if it has to do with the scrubbing.
Yeah, it probably does. It's probably not happy about the thing. So I'll try to avoid some of those things. Okay. Mm-hmm. So bottom line is I've got this frame that we're going to jump from this frame to this frame, and I know that's going to be a pretty ugly transition. So what I can do is I can come over here and I can look at some of these menu items, right? And I can see there's a transition menu. And there's a bunch of different stuff in here that we can look at, right? In other words, I can have it do like a dreamy sequence kind of thing where it like dissolves from one to the other. I can do this barn doors thing, which all I got to do to take this transition now, I've got these two video clips, and if I take this transition and drag it down onto here, and I don't know if you'll be able to see that. See, it turned green. I don't know if you can see the little green highlights.
Yeah, I can see it a little bit, yeah.
Drop this thing, and if I drop it there, okay, and I don't know if that probably didn't work because I was zoomed in. I don't know if that works. I'm going to try that again, and I'm going to put it there, and now I can see this little green thing, right? And that shows me the beginning and ending of the sort of barn door transition that I'm doing. And now if I play it, now I'm going to try playing this, Chris. we already know that sometimes there's some weirdisms when we play the videos, right? But let's just see if I play this video.
But I wanted to add.
Did you sort of
that
see the
none of it
barn
was
doors?
because it didn't happen when we made this.
I don't think so. I think it froze completely.
Yeah, it was tough.
Yeah. It does not like me playing the videos at all, right? So let's just say, if you can sort of imagine this, I'm going to use my hands, and if you look at the camera, it's going to do like this transition where it goes like, it opens these barn doors and like fades from one piece of video to another, right? Or I can just fade through black if I wanted to. It's the one I have highlighted here. Okay. And then, but what's interesting now is if I want to look, one thing I haven't shown is I can zoom in on this timeline, right? Right now we can see 20 seconds, 30 seconds, 40 seconds. This is very zoomed out, right? I can zoom in on this thing. And when I do that, you'll see that I can see a much more frame by frame basis, right? And if I want to move this really subtly, I can move my cursor on a frame by frame basis and I can see it all just by expanding this out, right? Now, the other thing is you see these green bars here. This is my transition. This is that barn door thing.
Yeah, okay.
And so how quickly do I want that barn door transition to happen? You see how big this green box is? I can say, I want that barn door thing to be around for, let's see, we started on 22 seconds and change, right? A couple frames. This basically says 22 seconds and 15 frames.
Yep.
Right? 23, because it's 30 frames per second, right? So these are frames, right? So I can basically say, I want this to go from a little over 22 seconds and a few frames. I want this barn door to like sort of stay open for, maybe that's, I don't know what the max is. Look at this. So like, this is going to be a really slow barn door, right? It's just going to fade through.
Right.
Or I can say, oh no, I want that barn door transition to happen really quickly. I want it in, let's just say half a second or so. That's probably about a half a second, right? 15 to 30, you know, that's about a half a second. So that's a pretty quick transition, right? But we can do all kinds of stuff like that. So I can control those transitions. And it's kind of fun to be able to put nice little transitions between your clips. I can do like a flip transition. You can actually see it animating in the background here when I hover over it, and it looks like it's working on the video. I'm looking over it.
Yep, I see it flipping.
You see that?
Yeah.
And this is, let's see if the barn door one will animate. So now I'm animating over the barn door.
Yep.
See it. So it's just not working at the big scale that we would like it to. So, okay. So now, so another thing we can do with this video is we can put in some annotations, right? Especially if we're doing presentations. Cross the Lips says, use this Lucas sweep transition. Yeah, the Lucas sweep, I think, is actually in here. Let's see. Did I miss it? There's a gradient wipe. Where is the Lucas? There should be a sweep. Slide left. This is, no, that's not exactly the Lucas sweep. But that's kind of close. Here it is. That's it. I think this is it right here. Slide right. Am I right? Is that the Lucas sweep?
Yeah, I think so.
A slow version of it. And of course you saw that I could speed it up. There's probably a slide. I could probably like change it to go left or right or whatever. So there's a bunch of stuff in here. So if you're doing something for like a presentation, a lot of times you want to put words up on the screen as well, right? So let's just say right about here, I want to put some words on the screen. So I can go over to this annotations menu, and you can sort of see the kind of stuff we have at our disposal. Now there's, let's go to all. So I can do arrows and call outs, little cloud think boxes, just plain old text boxes if I want, right? And so let's say I could do something fun and put like a little thought bubble of some sort next to my daughter here. Well, that's actually a text bubble, not a thought bubble. Thought bubble is the one with the, usually the, oh no, this is it right here with the dots coming off
dots,
it, right?
yeah.
Watch this. This is cool. Now watch this though. I don't know how smooth this will
that's
look.
cool. No, that was nice. That was good.
Yeah, so you can see it has this little, it's hard to tell. Let's zoom in on this. There's a little circle inside that circle right in there. Just like you can see these circles up here, handles, I think those things are called. And I can stretch this thing around as much as I want. I can move it around, right? And then I can come in here and she's probably thinking, why did my dad drag me into this demo, right? So I did that, okay?
Yeah.
Now you'll notice when I dragged it onto my canvas, what happened? It showed up down here on the timeline, and it put it in a second track.
Okay.
Okay? So now I can play around with these things separately, all right? Now, first off, you could probably guess, I can come over here and I can change the font and the size and all kinds of stuff like that, right? I'm not locked into that. I can also change the call out, which is this second, this is the properties window here. I'm in the text properties. I can also do the annotation properties, and here you can see the color and the outline of the thing. It doesn't show, but there's actually probably a white outline around this thing. Let's see if I make it thicker. Yeah, there's actually like a white outline, right? It was set to 0. But so there's some nice little things you can do in here. It's not endless possibilities, but it's enough to make your presentations really creative, right? And if you change the colors around, you can do all kinds of different things with them. So, okay, so I have this call out. And now I might use my scrubber. And again, this probably doesn't work so great in the video, but I can go to the right frame and I'm going to say, you know what? I know this frame. I want the call out to happen here, right? This is the frame. So I can just grab this call out and I can slide it, right? I can move it to anywhere I want it to be.
Yeah, but it'll be sticky right there.
You notice that it snapped it snapped to the grid there or whatever.
That's kind of nice. That snapped there.
So I guess well, okay, I want that call out, but it's only going to be like 2 seconds, and now it's up there for like 4 seconds or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So what do? I can grab the end of that call out, right, and I can make it as length. It can appear for as long on the timeline as I want. It's going to appear for these 2 seconds or something like that, right? So, and if I'm not even going to play it because I think I know what happens if I try to play it. I'm looking at the video now, which is a little delayed, but when I use this scrubber, it might be a little jumpy, but it seems to sort of work. But if I try to play the video with this play button, that really seems to cause havoc. So,
right.
So you can imagine that this thing's going to just pop up. I think you can fade them if you want. There's different things you can do with these call outs, right? Okay. So I got a little graphic on here. All right. Now, let's say I want to take another graphic. And I want to put like a little text box on the bottom here. I'm just looking for, I use this one a lot. So I'm going to grab this one out here. Okay. And this one's going to say, hello world. Okay. Whoop, hello world. And I can drag the size of this thing, right? I can do different things. I'm going to move it down to here. Okay. So now I have both these graphics to be at the same time, right? But on here. Now, what I really want to do, though, is I kind of, watch this. I'm going to move this up, and it's automatically going to create a new track. And I let go, and now you can see it says track 3, right? I can have them both be on the screen at the same time. I just need to use another track for that. So I can use as many tracks as I want. Well, I don't know how many tracks I can use. I've never run out. I don't know what the limit is, but it's pretty reasonable. I've had probably 10 things on here, So I can have both these things on at the same time. Now let me show you this. This might seem obvious, but I'm just throwing out little tips to you guys. If I was to move this up here, you'd say, hey, that covers the other one. And Chris, you might even be able to guess why this one is on top of the bubble.
Well, that's what I was going to ask is coming from some other software that has layers that I was curious if you were going to show that it's on top because visually it's the highest track. I was actually waiting for you to say that's actually not it at all. The Z order's got nothing to do with that, but that's exactly it. Okay.
Right? That's exactly it. So if I was to swap them and do that.
Okay.
Right.
So it is a Z ordering. Okay.
Z ordering, right?
Yeah.
So
Cool.
You know what's cool about this is that was intuitive to you. Like you just kind of knew that was going to happen, right? So anyway, let's just move this back down here, okay? And we've got that.
With them being offset, though, maybe you're about to show this. With them being offset, we're going to see. So you're right; it is intuitive. I'm going to see the cloud, but then then the hello world's going to drop in, and then the cloud's going to drop. So,
right, so
it's just all visual,
frame by frame, just like you said. There's hello world.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Okay.
You can really make these things as elaborate as you want, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let me just think. So I showed some of like the basic cutting and dragging basics. I'm sorry, cutting, editing basics, right? Now, I could also take...
we did get a question since we've been talking about the scrubber and the links of these things. Do you know if there's a way to type in duration? Because right now you've been doing everything visually and click and drag.
Right. Yes, there is a way to do that. So I can go over to the call out here. And I believe, now I could be wrong, but this is the clip here. See this little, this is the visual properties of this. Sorry, let's make sure we're on the right thing. We are, because this is the one that's yellow. See, that's yellow, right? And so this is the clip, okay? Even though it's not on screen. And look, now it's on screen because I moved the scrubber. So not only can I move this thing around and drag it here, but I can have access to the X, Y, and Z positions of it. Now Z, I just want to see what happens if I change that. Is that a Z index? So I wonder, I don't know. I wonder if I can override this in Z index. Let's try something here. Do you mind if I'm just playing with it? I've never done this before.
But I see what you're saying.
Yeah. No, it did not do that. No, the Z index was sort of moving it on a bit of an angle, I think. I don't know what that did, quite frankly. I'll be honest, I don't know what I did. No, I just did Control Z, by the way, and put it right back. So I can have set values for the position. And I thought duration was on here, but let's see. Height and width, right? That's great for the size of it. The position, the rotation, by the way. Is this a button? Let's see, look at that. I forgot to show that I can rotate these things if I want, right?
Yeah.
But I don't see, I thought duration was one of these. Am I missing it? Maybe not.
What about, you already are switching tabs up there. So that's a good point, is that these tabs control different properties of this call out.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, I feel like I've seen this too. If you right click on it, on the
yes, well,
there's a duration there. And that was totally from memory. I wasn't trying to show you up. I feel like I've done this, and I think I right clicked or something, but
yeah, good memory. Yeah, you can right click it and get to. It's interesting that property is not over here. But
I agree.
A lot of times, what I'll do is I will apply like duration to I'll go across and I'll set it, because I want them all to be exactly the same and stuff like that. So I'll come in and put like 2 seconds on every one of these things. If I have consistency, I like to have consistency on some of these things. Another thing came up as I thought about this, as I spun this thing, and I noticed, this why won't I grab it there? Let's see. This is out of the frame here. See how it says hello world?
Yeah.
But you can see that it's in gray over here. So that's legal, right? I can do this, but you won't see the stuff that's off the edge. And that's cool, because you can use that to help you sometimes. Sometimes that's what you want to have happen, right?
Right.
So you're only going to see what's in the sort of the visible area, right? So that was a great question. You can type in the thing. You may have noticed also that in here is a clip speed. Mm-hmm. Speed and duration are two different things.
Yeah, okay.
So if this clip, I could go to here and say add clip speed, and see it says clip speed 1 time. So I can actually play this clip at 3 times, right? It's going to play it 3 times as fast. Okay?
Yeah, nice.
But When I clicked off of it, well, it seemed like it disappeared, but it didn't. I'm going to slide this back. When I changed it to 3 seconds, it takes up less space in the timeline now.
Right. So
right. It's still the full thing. It's just going to be like, kind of video. Right.
Yep.
So you can do that. Now, if I wanted to change it and be the opposite direction, if I wanted to go to slow-mo and I tried to do it right now, it would say you can't, because slow-mo would make it longer and it would butt up against this one.
Okay.
And so the only way to make it longer and slower would be for me to slide it here and make room for this thing to expand out, right? And I, that hopefully makes sense, right?
Yeah.
All right. So there's a bunch of other stuff I kind of wanted to show here. Let me just take a look. This is almost really in the basics section, but if I go back to my media bin, I can, of course, add in other media. And so I have this picture of me from when I got the vaccine. Oh, I guess you can't really drag it. I think you can drag it in other ways, but from that.
And that's not a movie. That's a picture. Okay.
This is a picture. So picture, what do I want to do? Let's put this right. I could put it here, right? And if I do that, let's bring back my scrubber here, my slider. What do you think is going to happen now? Well, the aspect ratio is different. So it's kind of a dead giveaway. I put it on a higher track, so it covers it up, right? But you can see the other one behind it here, right? And so there's different ways you can, get around it if you wanted to. Or I can also have it be the only thing in here, right? I can try to put it down below here. Now, in order to get it to fit, I can do that. I can even put it in here. And now it's not video, but, I got that half a transition. You notice I broke that transition, the green barn doors, and the other green barn doors are over here. If you remember that, I wasn't really thinking as I do these things around here. So when I do that, so now this thing is here, and it will stay on screen for as long as its duration is set, just like the callouts. So I can come in here and say, I want this image to be on the screen for 2.5 seconds, right? And then I can bring this back over here. Now, I want to show you something. Oh, this is a great tip. See what happened? I moved this, and I seam these up so it's nice and tight, right? I want my video to flow. But did you notice what I left behind when I dragged this?
Behind as you dragged it. I'm missing it. Oh, the call out stayed. Okay.
Yeah. Now I kind of remember I said, I want this to be the call out's going to happen at like exactly the right spot where she's talking. But now it's not at the right spot anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
So these things aren't coming along for a ride. Okay. So I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to ask you to guess how I might be able to move all those three at the same time.
Select them somehow, like maybe with the mouse or some other
shift. Right?
Okay.
Shift, click, and you can see I highlighted them all.
Yeah. Okay.
Come along together. These things aren't like completely different. Like these editors, use certain connotations that would maybe come natural to us as developers. I think that's kind of what I was trying to go with that.
Right.
So I can drag those things around. But there's another thing I can do is if I really like this, I'm gonna clip this video here. Now listen, if I want to make a cut, I got to make sure the right thing is yellow here, and I'm gonna cut this little video into its own piece for a reason here. So I cut that, and now again it's going to be a seamless transition here, right? If I want it, But these three things, what I want to do now is I'm going to go like this. And I'm going to go and say, group these three. Okay. And when I do that.
Wow. I haven't tried using this. No.
You can see the graphics are still there, right? The graphics show up. And I can expand the group and say, look at that, right?
Can you still work on it in there? Like move things around?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Can still work. That's a great question, right? It's not like locked completely.
Yeah.
But now, if I want to like move it somewhere, right? I can just move it as like a whole piece, right?
Once you've got the timing of those elements down, you can lock it in, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah. And you can actually lock it in. I think there's a lock button somewhere on this group, come to think of it, where I think you can actually do more like don't screw with this thing. I think I've seen that somewhere, but honestly, I don't recall. But the point is like what you said, right? I can do this. Now I've got this group of media that's together, right? I might even be able to name it. I can rename the group. Look at that. So like I can be like, oh, this is that clip of Sarah, whatever I wanted to call it, right? And that's probably pretty hard to see, but I just renamed it. Okay. Um, so, so I showed a little bit about transitions. So, okay, here's really cool stuff. We can go to behaviors and animations. Okay. Now, behaviors are these like sort of text behaviors, right? And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I can apply this. Let's put a text here. I don't use these behaviors too much because they're a little crazy, but if I put an annotation, I'll put it right here. Okay, and I'll slide my slider, and you can see it says ABC, right? Nothing fancy there. But I'm going to take this behavior, and I'm going to do this. And now notice I dragged it on here, and it turned green, the place I'm putting it, and I let go. And you can even see, because the timeline is here, it's not at the beginning, you can see that my ABC letters are all over the place, right? But if I move my slider, you can sort of see what's going to happen with this animation, right? Is that coming through? I think so.
Like you can see I'm bouncing, and maybe it's not as smooth as what you're seeing, but you can see it, yeah.
Yeah, that's the point, right? Like it's okay if it's not perfectly smooth. You can hopefully trust me that it's smooth on my end, right? So I can do this funky, sort of animations like that or behaviors with these texts, right? So another thing I can do, and this is really cool. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to come to this section here, and let's drop in under annotations. There's other annotations up here which I didn't show. There are like arrows and lines. There's little shapes and stuff like that, or a teardrop. You can actually draw on this thing. You can do a bunch of stuff. I'm just going to take this triangle, and I'm going to put that right there. Okay. And so if I slide it, that's going to come and it's going to go, right? When I get to this spot, it's going to go. But what I wanted to do is I want to animate this thing. I want it to move across the screen. All right. So there's a bunch of different things in the animation section. There's a zoom and pan, and there's an animation. We're going to start with the zoom and the pan. Okay. And well, there are these let's see. I'm going to use this custom animation. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag it onto this shape. Now, I haven't done this in a while, so I'll admit I'm a little shaky on this. But you can see on here now I have this new display, indicator here. And right. That is the duration of my animation. All right. So now what I want to do is, if you look at the cursor, this is where this graphic is. So let's just say I want it to start over here. Okay. And by the time it gets to this end, I want it to be down over here, right in the far corner. Okay. So what I can do is I can slide this thing to there. That's the duration of my animation. And if I go back to it, I want to move it like all the way down here. I might be screwing this up because I don't do this too often. Oh, no, I put another animation in it. So I think it's because I started it in the wrong spot. Let's just do that again. So I come back to my shape. I'm going to start it here. Okay. I'm going to drag my custom animation onto it. And I'm going to do this, but now I'm going to say I want, whoa, grab the wrong thing. You got to be careful what you grab in here, right? I think this is going to work. Again, I'm not, yeah, look at that, right? So hopefully that kind of shows on the video that like I can move this thing, right?
Yeah, so like you set a keyframe position at the beginning and end, and it's figuring it out to get you there.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's different things you can do in here. Again, like this is a short demo, right? So I'm not going to go into everything. But you can have it rotate while you're doing things. You know, I could probably like, if I did something like this, let's see. I could probably do it a little bit like that too. So now, see how it rotated into that?
Oh, yeah, okay. So it's definitely keyframe, right? It's like, hey, I'll get to where you want.
Look. It's straightening it back out because I had the end of it. I kind of broke it in the middle and told it to do two different things. Now, you know where I use this a lot? On that thought bubble thing. Let's say the thought bubble is here and pretend I had that thought bubble here. As she moves around the screen, I want that thought bubble to sort of like follow with her. And so I've done that a lot, right? Or maybe you have an arrow, especially if you're doing like, you know, we talked in the beginning about wanting to do like product demonstrations, right? So if I have an arrow, and let's say the arrow is, you know, pointing to this picture, right? We want to like, well, that's a lame arrow, isn't it? Make that arrow bigger. Let's see. That's a pretty lame arrow, but let's just say I have that, right? As the video moves, I want to keep your eye on that, you know, photo. So I would animate this arrow so that it moves a little bit every time the picture moves a little bit. And it's kind of hard to do because, you know, depending on how the video is. But hopefully that gives you an idea of like some stuff you can do with some basic animations. And it's pretty good.
Yeah.
So there's a couple other things. I don't want to get, like, I'm not going to go too much further, but I do want to show you that we can edit the audio of this clip as well. Okay. So let's just say, oh, and by the way, this whole video, I drag this thing and there's going to be 2 blank sections at the beginning of this thing. So I would probably have to drag this whole thing. And let me zoom in for a second. I'll show you something. I can zoom my timeline in a lot, right? And you'll notice that I've got all this stuff in the timeline. And I want to grab this front clip and I want to get rid of this 2-second gap at the beginning. So I'm going to drag it. I'm going to slide it there. And you notice what happened is it didn't take this other stuff with it, right? So in order to do that, if I hit Shift and drag, see how it drags all the stuff on that track, but it didn't take these other tracks with it, right? So to do that, you almost need to do like a Control A or something like that, and you know, and grab it like that. So there's different ways you can do that. But I'm going to zoom in again on the beginning of this track, and let's just say we want to have this really nice fade of the audio when we start this thing, right? So I'm going to expand the bottom part of my palette here. I'm going to bring this up a little bit and see, I can actually expand these things and I can get a really good look at the audio of this track.
Okay.
And what I can do now is I can do 2 things, actually, one of 2 things. I can separate the audio from the video, which is really cool because maybe I don't even want the audio. I can just kind of like remove it, or I can do different things with it. But I can also just edit it and I can silence it, but I can also edit it in place. And when I do that, you'll see immediately I got this green bar on here, right? So what I typically do is I'll come in here and let's just say I want to have this nice fade in from 2 seconds to 8 seconds. I want to have this fade, right? So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to right click. I'm going to say add audio point, and see how I get this point here? And now I can go to this point and I can just do something like that. You know what I mean? I can just drag this down.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, this is creating the audio fade in, so it's not. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
You can do a fade out at the end or something.
Yeah, I can bring the whole level up and down if I want, right? There's other things I can do. I can even come in here, and if I zoom in really far on this part of the audio, let's just say, you know what? I don't know what this was, but maybe she coughed right here. And I'm like, oh boy, I don't want that, right? I can I can edit the audio and put like an audio point here and an audio point here, right? And I can sort of like, yeah, you know what? For some reason, this is a weird thing. I've had this happen a few times. You actually have to put 2 more audio points in here to create the shape that I want to have. And you'll see what I'm going to do in a second here. Now, if I drag this part, see how I did that? You know.
Oh, okay.
Right? Okay. Kind of granular. You can't do everything. Kind of messing around with it here, but I can make this spot smaller if I want. You know what I mean? So I can sort of try to like lower that audio right in that one spot. Again, it's not a real example, but I just wanted to point out that you can do those kind of things as well. And I think there was one other thing that I kind of wanted to show. Well, there's a couple, but let's see. I did transition audio. So, okay. So there's 2 things I want to show that are left, right? One at the end would be like how to turn this into a video, right? Because that's kind of important. Like right now, it's just a project. But another thing I want to show, and so I did this. See this record button up here, all right? I have this record button up here. And if I record, and I'm not going to do this right now because my video camera is already being used for this presentation that we're talking about, right? And I don't want to record. I think it'll throw Skype into a total tailspin here, right? Like probably not the best idea. But if I click record, what happens is I get this little pop-up window will come up on my screen, right? And it'll say like, you know, hit go when you're ready to record. And I might come in here and I might open up like a slide deck, right? In PowerPoint or something like that. And I'll record myself, right? And I can hit go and I can hit stop. And what it does is it creates this thing. And if I go to I forgot to show this other stuff in here too. Yeah. But if I go to add some import media, I showed you I have this Trek file. So I'm gonna add this Trek file. This is the thing that the record creates for me, right? I took it out because I didn't want to have it in there. So I'm going to show you what happens if I drag this back in. I'm going to make everything small here, right? In my timeline. I'm going to take this screen recording, okay? And I'm going to drop it in at the end of this video here, okay? And I can zoom it back out again. And you can see what this did is it created 2 tracks, okay? And if I hover over and see the details of this Trek, I can see that the Trek has track 1, which is my screen video, and track 2 is my camera video. Track 3 is the microphone audio, which I think it would do that. I think I had a setting that said keep the audio in here, but you can record the audio separately if you want, things like that. Okay, so I've got this track. Now, when I go over this track, you'll see what happens. Let's see, so now it's black, right? When I go to this track, you can see that we did a screen recording earlier. And it's not me, but let's just pretend that we were doing my solid principles demo, right?
Yeah, right.
Scooped around and I had my son come in here and do this for me because if I played it, I knew that the audio of me talking and the audio of me talking would get really confusing. So my son is in here pretending to do a solid principles presentation, but I'm not going to play it because we already know that playing the video gets wonky right now through this thing. But these are two different tracks. So what does that mean? I can take this video down here and I can do this if I want, right? I can change these things and be like, oh, you know what? Let's do this. Okay. Right. Or even better, let's have a animation on here, and let's go back to my custom animation, and let's do something like this, right? Let's say for the beginning, when we start this thing, I want, the video to be bigger, right? But when it gets to the interesting part over here, or whatever, I want the video to be smaller, right? And of course we can do that, right? And I can do the opposite. I can do the opposite for this, which is to say that on this one, How did I do that? I want this to be, is that right? Let's see. It's not doing anything. Why isn't it doing anything? I might have broke it. I don't know what I did. I don't know what I did. But you get the idea. Like I can zoom one in and zoom one out, right?
Yeah,
when I did
you can build that into the video so that maybe there's a part where there's a lot more talking. You'll animate the frame size down and up appropriately, and then maybe put it back. Yeah. We did get a question, and I don't know the answer, but I know an answer. As Kayaking said.
I did wrong.
Oh,
I put this
you still
in the
getting
wrong.
it?
Wait, I'm sorry. I'm a little frustrated. I put this on the wrong thing. Okay. So I put on the screen recording, and now when I get to here, I'm going to, oops. I think my computer's having a little aggravation with me doing things at the same time, right?
Right.
But yeah, so now it's zoom out. And of course I can flip the Z order of these. We know that from before. Let's put this one on top. So now when I slide it, it'll be some kind of, and you could do some really nice things with like your presentations here. And you could have animations and have things sort of sweep around and put pointers and stuff like that, right? So sorry, I cut you off. You were trying to jump in with something.
No, it's I remember, there's a lot of live production that does this, but I also remember seeing some production where it was a lecture, and definitely there were times where the speaker was going to do more of the talking, so they would squeeze down the slides for a little bit while it was a little bit more live and interactive. Maybe the speaker is answering a question, something like that. So you can set yourself up to move things back and forth. Yeah. Yeah,
kind of like we do on a show. Now I see a question from Kayaking T about cursor effects, and there are some cursor effects in here.
Yeah. I know I've used the spotlight before. I don't remember much about it, but I remember specifically it was a video where I was trying to show, how you do something, and what I was concerned about is just because of the way the contrast fell, is that somebody, like if I said, hey, go up to the file menu and click, that it just didn't, even though I was doing it, it didn't register in my head. So I said, well, I want to see, as I start saying those words, I wanted to spotlight on the cursor.
Yeah, so I don't know how well it's going to work because I don't know if the cursor moves a lot in this video. But if I put this highlight down on here, I drag highlight from here to the thing, you can see already the cursor, it picked up the cursor there.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Highlighted it. And so now it should move when the cursor moves, which doesn't really move a lot. But see, even how the cursor's, the cursor moved a little bit in the video.
Right.
Let's see if it moves at all. Unfortunately, I don't move here's a spot where the cursor moved down. Yeah, there it is. I don't know if you can see that, but the cursor's moving. So hopefully that's pretty good. There's a few other effects.
Yeah, and
there's cursor smoothing.
That's tracking the cursor in your recording after the fact. That's pretty handy.
I don't know how that works, right? Yeah, it is pretty cool. You can even put this magnify on there, and then magnify the cursor a little bit and things like that. So, okay, you can pile these effects on.
Yeah.
What does this stuff do? Oh, look at this. Oh, look at that. I've never even used these, but you can have it give you that like highlight.
Yes.
To do something when you left click. And there's other stuff. There's visual effects where you can change the colorize. Oh, I can show you a cool thing here. Let me show you this. It's kind of funny. They got some built-in stuff. So where was that photo? There was someplace in here where I dragged a photo. Let's just go back to, let's take this photo. I'm going to stick it like right over here for now, right? So under visual effects, there's this device frame. See this is kind of cool. And if I put that on here, let's get my thing back to here. So I don't know if you realize what happened here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so here's my picture, but I dragged this device frame on it, and it gave me this frame, right? Like it put me in this frame, for lack of a better term. And over here, I can choose I want it to be on an iPhone or a MacBook Pro and things like that, Google Pixel. Now, you'll notice on these that they're generally they're not that different, right? But you can download more of these. There are free effects and things like that you can download. They also have some paid ones. But I found a whole bunch of other things where you can get like different pictures behind it and things like that. So there's more to it than that. There's audio effects. You can do automatic audio fade in, noise removal. Like the features kind of, again, this is a somewhat short walkthrough of this thing. But before we run out of time, the last thing I want to make sure I show is that when I'm done with this whole thing, you want to export it, right? And if I export it, these I think are like service-based things where like it will publish it to Vimeo or to YouTube. I've never tried doing these. I always work with the custom production. And if I go to custom production, I can choose an MP4 or a WMV or an AVI, like these kind of things, okay? Now you'll also notice it says Mp4 Smart Player. And if I do that, it will actually create a player that looks like this. And you can embed this places if you want to with like a play button and stuff like that. So I like to figure out how to turn that off as a default because it's never really what I want. And so what I end up doing is I hit the back button and I go here and I say, what I really just want is an MP4 and I want it like at 1080p, or sometimes if I'm going to be pushing something like really small and I want to put it on like Twitter or something like that, I might even make it smaller, right? Depending on the place you're going. Like YouTube doesn't even show 1080p, do they?
The YouTube preset? Do you mean?
Like I think, I think unless you're a certain level on YouTube, I don't think they show our video at 1080 or something like that. Or maybe maybe I'm thinking of a different platform. But whatever it is,
yeah.
I choose my thing. I say next. I set a couple of features like what do I want to name it, where do I want to put it, and these kind of little buttons don't even matter that much. But the bottom line is you click finish, and if I do, up comes a pop-up that says rendering, and hey. The faster your computer, the more powerful, the faster it's going to build out that file. It's going to collapse all these things and make your transitions look nice and smooth. And everything will be just in your MP4, like done. Awesome as that. That's how you would sort of produce it. That's the final output.
I'm not sure if you know this. I don't. When you were looking at the cursor effects, and some of them were click-based, it says, does it also do mouse click sounds? And I don't know the answer. Yeah. I'm inferring from some of the documentation and support technical issues that there might be something there. For example, there's not recently, but they do say when applying the mouse click sound effect to a video in Camtasia 904, the sound may not play in the timeline or the produced video. This was fixed in 905. So I'm kind of inferring that since there's a release note here talking about it, maybe that is something you apply so that, and I understand why that'd be really cool is you can make sure that it's really called out that somebody is clicking, or maybe I've watched many a video that says like and subscribe, and you hear the click click as it's showing you clicking on a subscribe button, right? Yeah.
So I think there's a couple of things. First of all, if you record and you choose the option when you record to record the desktop sounds or whatever they call that, right? I would think there would be a click sound in there, wouldn't there? No, maybe not.
No, that's like your physical clicking.
Sound, right? That's just my hand.
Yeah,
right clicking. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes
there's this click. See,
right.
There's this sound.
Yep.
And I wonder if I was to drag that on there, if it would say, "Oh, I'm going to play all the left click sounds," and if I drag this one, I'd play all the right click sounds. But I don't know the answer to that. It kind of looks like a little sound wave, and I'm hoping that you would apply it once to a whole track, and it would automatically play all the clicks, but I don't have any clicks in here. Like I just didn't do that. But here it is. It's click sound, mouse click, laptop. Oh, look, you can choose the sound. Huh, so I think that's what we're talking about here, because it looks like you can choose between different types of things.
And what's
I
that
can even
sound
raise the
preview right
volume.
there? You can click it. Click.
You hear it?
I did. I think it.
Oh,
I think it probably went out across
oh
the
yeah.
airwave there.
I should have. I'm gonna make it really loud, and we'll have some fun with that.
2 hour shot or
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
So it's cool because it's kind of separated, and if you want to have it, you put it, and if you don't, yeah, no problem, Kayaking. I saw your comment there. Thank you. So there's more, right? There's more that you can do. There's this library in here where you can get, these kind of things like building icons and things like that, right? I'm just like flipping through here, right? There's some built-in lower thirds where you might want to have some graphics at the bottom of your screen. Some built-in intros. I've used this. There are some music tracks in here that they're not bad. And so I've definitely used those when I make like little videos of different things, right? There's a lot of different stuff I've done with Camtasia. Not like I'm a pro, but I've edited home movies. I made like a little movie of our Lego setup. I've done a bunch of presentations. I've made some YouTube content, for developers and things like that. So there's a whole bunch of stuff you can do in here. And there are more like library content that you can pay and have stuff added in here. And there's also some free stuff that you can find. I don't know. That's kind of the gist of it.
Yeah.
And from showing this is, if you had never done this before and you were thinking like, oh, I can't do this. Like, I'd like to make a little video for the team to show them this new feature. No, you can. You can get one of these tools and you can drag some clips around and you can chop them and put some little transitions. And, I think it's doable, right?
Yeah. And, so I'm no expert with Camtasia, just being totally honest, but I've used a couple of these features. For example, we had Shahed Chowdhury on the ASP.NET show, and sometimes one of the things, the way we produce this show now is we're streaming live on YouTube and Twitch, and so afterwards we get a YouTube video that's going to be ready to watch almost immediately, although it renders the higher resolution, so it takes a little while for it to look nice and crisp. But the problem is that it's got like the stream starting, stream ending stuff, and YouTube has built-in clipping stuff. But we weren't always doing that. And so as an example, here is a video that we have on our YouTube channel. And basically what I did is I took the recording and I used the call out feature just like you said right there. And then there's a little video playing and the call out sitting right in front of it. And then I switched the call out to say like, hey, here's where to see us live, and then the show started. And if I remember correctly, I think I may have forgotten. I'm not going to try and get it exactly perfect, but I think at the end of the show, if people actually, if they got through the whole thing and they got to the end, then there was a call out at the end. I forget what. If I remember correctly, see how we started freezing at the end of this particular show?
Nice, good idea.
We were still figuring out a lot of our latency issues and so on. And hey, it's producing the live show is always fun. The other thing that I saw was this was the product I was thinking of a little bit earlier. I want to make it clear that I don't have any experience with it other than that I remember it being called out as another option, Filmora here. And I think if I remember correctly, I wanted to say that Filmora...
Interesting. It says free download, but then it says buy now. So is that like a trial edition?
Yeah.
Who knows, right?
I forget actually. I want to say that I'm seeing what I'm seeing is I'm seeing a lot more folks on YouTube beginning to talk about, hey, here's how to do this in Filmora, right? And then, but apparently Wondershare has another product, Demo Creator, which I am not aware of at all. So let's maybe search for demo. I didn't spell it right, but that's okay because you're going to get this. You're going to find it for me anyway. Yes. Unfortunately, there's some. It doesn't like some of the cookies apparently, but yeah, screen recording and video editing for everybody.
Worth checking out though.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, one of the things about Camtasia is that a lot of people are already using like Snagit.
Yep.
And things like that.
Yep.
And you can sort of bundle those in as well. I think, I think like, I don't know. I felt like Camtasia or TechSmith in particular, right? They sort of market themselves, towards developers as well, like as one of their audiences. Like they've been in our space, before, like, and so it's sort of popular, but yeah, I'd be interested to see some of these other tools as well.
Yeah. Well, here's what I love about the show is that you come on to we come on to talk about how we've used this product to do some video editing, and then we get suggestions from people who meet us, and that's what the show's about. It's not just us talking at everybody. It's we want to learn and listen from everyone as well. So I'm really glad that we got a lot of those suggestions tonight, which I think is really cool.
Yeah. And Chops jumping in at the end there. Hey, Chops, how's it going? Demo Creator is the other one, I guess, that's what you're looking at here. Yeah, and it might be a simpler thing just for making demos where it's maybe not as complex. I don't know.
Yep.
Happy with the tool that that I showed. And, there's some limitations to it, so who knows,
Right.
So that was it.
Yeah, that was good. It was good. That was
great. I
great.
hope that people found this interesting. I know this is a little out of the box, so to speak, for our show, but we were thinking, well, developers have to do this kind of stuff from time to time, and we did see some comments early on that people did agree. I hope everyone that stuck around, felt like this was a worthwhile use of your time. Like we do try to produce content that you guys are all going to enjoy. So I hope that is the case. As
a quick aside, because this could be a whole other show, building a content portfolio, right? And I'm gonna say, look, when I was starting out in this industry, I think it was still the days of your resume represented you. I'm not sure that most people you wouldn't think, heck, it was still a little early for blogs. But when you were going in for an interview, even as a software developer, there wouldn't be this expectation that you might have a blog or a GitHub repo or anything like that. Your resume spoke for you. And I think we're one of the things that I try to tell people is I think we're in an age now where it's a lot of time we talk about building your brand as a developer, and we're in an age where you can take control of that by doing something like having your own YouTube channel, maybe starting a podcast, maybe having a blog. And so being an editor of digital content, being able to edit it, that's a skill now. That I know it's funny because you're like, well, I want to write code, and that's cool. I want to write code and build software, but maybe putting in a little bit. I don't think anyone would be asking, like, you got to become a top quality pro at it. Yeah. But enough to be able to maybe put together, like we have here for the Dev Talk Show, so if you're watching now or in the future, all of our shows are recorded and they are on YouTube at youtube.com/The Dev Talk Show. And please, if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button and the bell, and you'll be notified when a new video comes up. But we are on at 8:30 Eastern time, right? And and like everything we talked about, kayaking has a YouTube channel, right? So we just I spent all that time talking about, and this is it. That's the point. That's exactly what it's about. We have
different hobbies too. Like it's not all about writing code.
Right.
How cool is this?
Yep. Yeah. Yep, that's cool stuff.
And looks like the content's all pretty recent too, unless I'm missing something. So good luck getting this channel started. I'll subscribe. I'll subscribe right now.
That's awesome.
There you go, kayaking. You got another subscriber. Spread the word. Check it out.
Yeah, I mean that's what it's all about, right? So yeah, here we go. And you know what? I love it. And/or coding. That's cool.
Yeah, that is cool. It's a good name. Yeah. So
don't forget we are on
anyway,
Twitter.
Now,
Twitter.com/The Dev Talk Show. YouTube.com/The Dev Talk Show. Wednesday nights. You know, we've got to update this because we're UTC -4 during daylight. Isn't that great? Being in the U.S. is that you try to help people about when this is on, and oh wait, it's daylight time now. Which, you know, the U.S. audience is like, oh, whatever, 8:30. But oh well, unless you live like in Arizona or one of the other jurisdictions where there's no switch for. What a mess.
Yeah. Is there a way? There should be a symbol that sort of says like we honor daylight saving, like UTC, you know, like something else, like UTD, like you with daylight savings or something. I don't know. It's very annoying.
If only we knew some developers that maybe could write some code based on the time of year or something. Nah, I'm kidding. I make that joke a lot about like, you know, we should automate our own way out of this, and we don't. But in any case, on the subject of content creation, though, do you think that it's is this advice you would give to younger, whether you're starting out in development or something else even, right? It's something you want to do. Maybe you should take a stab at it. Again, I'm not trying to impress upon anybody that you got to become a YouTube star, but things that you like and that you're good at, sharing that with the world is both, it's rewarding personally anyway, but then at the same time, you're kind of putting out there, hey, guess what? I kind of know something about this, and you might even be viewed as an expert. And when you go looking for some work, someone will see this work and say, wow, this person really knows a lot about this topic. Look at they got a whole YouTube channel. I think it's the 21st century resume in a way.
Yeah, you know, these are the you know, generation now, like you say, you know, like the people now, we have these things at our fingertips. Like the tools are here for us. Sure, I happen to show Camtasia, $250, I think we said it was. And that might be out of somebody's reach, and I feel bad saying it, but it's also like we're not talking about like thousands of dollars, right? Like, you know, you can get into this, you know, and there's probably cheaper options as well with other products. But yeah, listen, you know, I've told you this before, and I've talked about it on this show before. My son Benny has his own YouTube channel, right? Football Talk with Benny, and he talks about NFL football and mostly the New York Giants. But what else does he do? He edits his videos, and guess what? He uses Camtasia because I was able to show him. I spent like a half hour, an hour one day, probably not even as detailed as what I just showed you guys. Hey, there's Benny's channel, right? He's got a whole bunch of content. This kid is working so hard on his videos. I don't know I think there's definitely more than that on there. Well, there's a slider there. If you go to videos, look at, I mean, this kid is putting out content, right? He's cranking them out. Look at this.
It's cool stuff, right? So, this is great.
And he edits these. Oh, I'm not hearing.
I did that on purpose. I did that on purpose to
it's fine, right?
Stay focused.
Yeah. So he does this. Yeah. He does this with Camtasia, right? Now, I already warned him about this particular video because he wasn't looking at the camera. He's usually pretty good. He's learning. But you know, what we were talking about before, I want to kind of come back to that, right? He's learning valuable skills, right? He's learning how to present, how to think and speak on the fly, which, you know, as a presenter, you're a presenter, like we appreciate that skill set. That's going to serve him well down the road, right? He's learning to edit. He's learning marketing to some degree because he's got Twitter now. You know, he sort of like tweets about these things. He's sort of learning little bits of these things, and he has guests on. He does live streaming too. Where he doesn't use Camtasia, he doesn't edit them. It's a different. He uses He uses that StreamYard.
Okay.
But he's got friends, and they go on each other's shows, and he knows other people in the football community. Like, we're in the tech community. He knows other people that do New York Giants-based shows. He goes on there. He's a guest on people's shows, and then he has them as a guest. And I'm watching him. And Chris, what is he doing when he's like leading his live show? Just like what you're doing or what I'm doing. He's talking to guests. He's bringing them in and bringing them out. He's popping up content from the chat window into like a featured chat, and he's producing this thing.
Yeah,
and I'm telling you, I couldn't be. Obviously, I'm proud. I couldn't be prouder of him. But I just think that it's something that, like, take your hobby, like we just saw right there. Kayaking is doing woodworking.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
look, right?
Yeah, this is it, and maybe some of us in the development. So, like you said, when you talked about it being a different kind of show for us, we're coders. We tend to think about code and architecture and different utilities or libraries or languages, but it's important, I think, and this is what I really liked about this idea. It was important to think about the other aspects of being in this industry, and one of them, I think, is maybe a little bit on the content creation side. It doesn't have to be videos. You could have a blog, and maybe there's something to talk about there, is getting started with a technical blog, and that might be an interesting show. And we'll reach out to some folks that might be good to join us there, because we'd love to have, there's only so much you can learn from just the two of us. And we learn more from you watching and guests than certainly you would learn any other way. So we'll see about that. But
yeah.
Hey, Andy, this was great. And I really appreciate the time you took to put together even something to walk through and go over some features. And hopefully you enjoyed it and take either a look at Camtasia or just being inspired to look at another product that might be free or cheaper. Totally fine. They've all got timelines. They all have these kind of effects. There's one thing you didn't show tonight where I've got a video out on YouTube about using Chocolatey, and what I found was as I was narrating it, I wanted to replace some of the narration, but then I don't quite have the timing right. So there was a feature in Camtasia where I could freeze the last frame of a section, and that allowed me to at least make it look like the audio fit the frame, because it's a computer screen. If it's frozen for a little bit, you don't notice. So you'll learn just the necessity of you trying to get your video to look right. You sort of you might type into search, how do I extend the last frame of a clip in Camtasia or whatever you're using, and there's the answer, and then you go, oh look, I learned a neat trick. So cool stuff.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
What do you think, Andy? That's a show for us tonight?
I think that's a show.
Cool.
Thanks to everybody who was hanging out with us.
Yeah.
Again, we always say this, whether you're just hanging out and watching and you're quiet, we love having you here.
Yep.
If you want to jumped in with some comments, we love having you here too. We just like knowing that we're doing some stuff that you guys find interesting. And we do appreciate it. If you want to just drop a quick hello in there, we appreciate it too. If you want to just drop a quick hello in there, we appreciate it too.
Yeah, let us know in the comments at YouTube. Send us a tweet. Adam in the comments at YouTube. Send us a tweet. Adam in the comments at YouTube. Send us a tweet. Adam in the comments at YouTube. Send us a tweet. So that's it for this time. We'll see you all next. That's it for this time. We'll see you all next. That's it for this time. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you all next time. We'll see you all Dev Talk. We'll see you all Dev Talk.